Good day, everyone. Good day. Heartily welcome back to Beyond the Weight Family Support. I'm Denzil Jacobs, your host, occupational therapist. And yes, today we want to look at the topic of the issues and the problems that families living with neurological conditions, added and complex needs such as autism, ADHD, dyspraxia, whatever the diagnosis, the general issues that they are faced with daily in their lives. These families may encounter a variety of challenges that I'm sure when you hear about some of them, you can't believe that in today's day and age, this is actually still happening. And yes, it's a reality for many. There are significant impacts upon these families that we as a wider community can help, and that we as families, as individuals, once we recognize that we are going through these problems, that we're going through these issues, that there is so much that we can actually do. So today I'm going to go deep into it. It's not going to be a comprehensive list of issues, but I hate just looking at problems. What I want to do, we want to look at the issues that you may be potentially going through, whether it's in your family, whether it's as an individual living with a diagnosis, or whether it's the wider community that's contributing towards the problem. We want to look at what the problem is, look at deeper into the issue, and then look at potential solutions. What can we do to help, to support, or to make things better? Ultimately, the goal of our practice, the goal of Beyond the Weight, this podcast, is to bring about a learning experience that can empower us to bring maximum quality of life for all stakeholders, for all of us involved. Okay? So, before I go deeper into it, I encourage you, please subscribe. There is much more to come, where we're actually going to go and we're going to have experts coming in on specific topics here. But to get those, you need to subscribe. You need to switch on your notifications so that when a podcast goes live, you'll be notified and you won't miss out on it. Now, let's have a look at all of this. Okay, what are these issues I'm referring to that families are encountering today still, 2024? Number one, and you may ask yourself when I mention this to you, are you for real, Denzil? Is this actually still happening today? Number one problem that families living with added and complex needs is social isolation. Yes, social isolation. Can you believe it? There are families that are struggling to find themselves to be included in their own community. They are struggling to find inclusive social activities for their loved one. They feel completely isolated from the community due to the unique needs of their loved one within their family. Or maybe as an individual, our adults living with a diagnosis, they are finding extremely difficult. And what do? They'll end up isolating themselves, which leads to all sorts of other issues like anxiety, depression, all these grave problems. So what can we do? What can we do as a society? What can we do as a community? What can we do as a family? What can we do as an individual to help alleviate this major issue in 2024 of social isolation? I want to encourage you. There are inclusive community activities. It is out there, but for us to be able to avail of it, we number one need to go and research it. We number two, we need to get ourselves aware of it. Okay, they say knowledge is power. Knowledge cannot be power if we're not even aware of it. There's a process to receive this knowledge. Awareness. And this is the main aim. One of the main aims of this podcast, one of the main aims of what I do is to bring awareness. I'm bringing I'm going to announce a charity challenge that's coming up now over the next 15 weeks where we're going to work together. And number one aim of that is to bring awareness. Yes, we also need the fundraising because we need resources, but awareness is the main, main aim of this campaign that's coming up. So there is a lot we can do. There is like 62 plus, it's now more, could be 70 plus at this stage, of what we call sister organizations, charity organizations, support groups out there for families living with autism, with ADHD. Again, with whatever the diagnosis, there is, I'd say, hundreds at this stage if we look at all the different diagnoses. But we need to go out there, research it, and make ourselves aware that this is there, this resource is there. And in this, there is great support groups where we can just, work together, help and support each other, connect with one another, help to understand one another's experiences. Get out there. Then there is more, and I hope this is going to inspire and empower some just to, maybe you've had this dream that, I want to start a charity because I want to help my community, I want to help other families, I want to help my neighbor. I know of a lady, she came back from another country, she has a son with a diagnosis of autism, and when she came back home to Ireland from another country, to discover, oh my word, the resources, the support groups, whatever, is almost non-existent where they landed up as a family. What did she do? Did she sit back and complain? No, she started her own charity organization that has now grown. I'm looking forward. I'm going to be speaking at it in the next 8 weeks or so. And it's just, it's wonderful to see. So I encourage you, let's do something. Okay. Problem number 2 that families living with added and complex needs is behavioral challenges. It's a massive issue. Managing challenging behaviors such as impulsivity, hyperactivity, sensory sensitivities. It can be so exhausting and so overwhelming upon these families that, beyond all the other issues that they have to deal with, they have to deal with this impulsive behavior, this hyperactivity behavior, the sensory sensitivities. You're going to hear in some of the problems, again, it leads also into that social isolation because you can't even get your child out into a shopping mall to do what some of us may think is just a everyday activity or a weekly activity that you do, is to go food shopping. A lot of families can't even do that. They have to bring in specific carers and whatever else just to get out into the community to do shopping, food shopping. Or they have to use online shopping. And what is online shopping? It takes away the social aspect. It takes away meeting others within the community. So already I'm only at problem number 2, but I've mentioned 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 other problems, knock-on problems that comes from these issues that families are living with. What can we do to help overcome behavioral challenges? It's important here that you, again, expose yourself. Don't isolate yourself. Expose yourself. Get yourself connected to professionals, whether it's an occupational therapist that is behavioral trained. Okay, like myself, I'm ABA trained. Then you could be collaborating with specific behavioral therapists out there that is there to help you implement, to analyze, to assess the situation, and then to implement behavioral management strategies for your loved one. And it is tailored to you as a family, tailored to you as a community, right? So that you can get involved. And this can truly help address all those challenging behaviors, bring quality of life and a less stressful life. So I'm not going to say you're going to be stress-free, but it will be way less stressful once you have this appropriate interventions and strategies in place for your loved one, or whether it's for yourself, or whether it's an issue within your community. Problem number 3, and it's a major one. You can go back to my podcast again where I interview a principal around this education access, the educational access, the system. It is so difficult for so many families. The moment here in Ireland we're having a major issue, even if you're not living with added and complex needs, to get your child into a school, enrolled into a school, whether it's primary or secondary school, the amount of there's just such a shortage at this moment in time. It is absolutely worrying. It is crazy. But again, we're going to look at what can we do to help overcome these issues. So the educational system, navigating the educational system can be an absolute nightmare for families. For these children to receive that appropriate added support, that added accommodations, okay, can become so complex and overwhelming and frustrating. Absolutely frustrating for these families living with added and complex needs. What can we do? How can we help within the educational access? Working with educational advocates. They are out there, forming partnerships with your school. Our principal, Kieran Keegan, he makes mention it is important before you enroll your child to school, make sure that there is that staff member that you can trust, that you know that will be looking out for your child, that you know there's nothing going to happen within that school to your child without it coming to your ears. Okay, so build that partnerships with school personnel, develop individualized education plans together with all the education staff to ensure that your child will be receiving the best and the most appropriate support and accommodations that your child needs within the education system. Issue number 5, financial strain. Financial strain, a big one. It is such a stressful problem, besides all the problems we've heard of already, that these families are going through such financial strain because they have the added cost of therapies, medications, specialized equipment that professionals may be recommending. I myself, I try to pride myself that I try my best never to recommend expensive pieces of equipment, but it's evidence-based research. There are certain pieces of equipment that is expensive, and the sad reality is out there, once these manufacturers of different specialized equipment, whether it's swings, whether it's a bike, whether it's a treadmill, whatever the case may be, they add these words on autism, or they add a diagnosis, or they add sensory processing onto their advertisement, and immediately just adding those words adds 100% increase on the price. Very sad. Very sad that, that exploiting families that is already going through so much problems, right? And then these families have to go and invest in these, but where's the money going to come from? A lot of our parents has to give up their jobs, right? Because it costs too much for babysitters. Not number one, you can't only just get any babysitter for your child living with autism, or ADHD, or whatever the added complex needs are. You need a person that is trained, that can deal with, like we heard, that behaviors, with that impulsivity, with that hyperactivity, with that sensory sensitivities. What do you do when the child is throwing a tantrum? You can't just get any babysitter, right? So mommies or daddies has to now leave their jobs, leave their professions, and become stay-at-home parents to take care of it. And I don't blame them. I mean, this is your child. Family first in absolutely everything. But then that again knocks on and adds to the already major financial issues that the families may be going through. What can we do? How can we help? We need to again explore the financial assistance programs out there. There is programs out there. Seeking out for grants. There's actually grants out there. There's charities, like I said, that's out there to help and support. Accessing community resources that may be free to alleviate your financial issues. I'm going to bring on professionals here within this area to citizens advice, right? We're going to bring in 2 professionals. I'm going to interview them, and they're going to give you the deeper insights into the programs and the grants and whatever is available out there for all of us to avail of that we may not know of at this moment in time. So there is a lot out there. Again, it just takes a bit of effort, bit of research. I know your hands are full. I know many of you are not even getting a full night's rest. I know you are tired, you are stressed out, but to overcome all these knock-on issues, we need to invest some time and expose ourselves to the potential solutions to the issues that we may be experiencing within our home, within our community. Then this leads nicely into problem number 6 that I have here, and that is parental stress. Parental stress. I'm not going to harp too long on this one because I think you get the picture by now. Constantly having to advocate for their child, constantly having to fight the education system, as I said, the health systems they have to fight. And this is all on top of just trying to manage the day-to-day challenges for their child and their family. Okay? Very often, families living with a child with a diagnosis, they're not the only child, they have siblings, okay, and trying to balance all that out, there are high levels of stress, and a condition that's now slowly but surely over the years, in the even World Health Organization, it is not an official diagnosis yet, but it's now being recognized. It's been written somewhere there within the manual. I will link it down below, a research paper too. Burnout of parents and caregivers. And again, are you surprised that parents and caregivers are getting burnt out? When you just listen to the previous 5 or 6 problems and the many more that came out of as I presented this to you, these are real issues, real issues. And now we have mental health issues that comes with that burnout, anxiety again, depression, suicidal ideations. Oh, it is absolutely sad. A child needs a parent that is healthy, stress-free as possible, to be able to give them the best support that they need. Yet we have all this, and we as a community, we contribute to the families living with added and complex needs problems. The system contributes to the problems. So you have parent burnout. What about sibling support? Another major problem. A lack of sibling support. Siblings of children living with neurological conditions and other added and complex needs require additional support too. They also need attention. They also need the family to help them and be there for them. Yet this family is having to juggle the needs of all the children with all the different dynamics, so to say, is a major problem. So what can we do? How can we get involved, and how can we offer help and a solution to the problem of sibling support? There is, again, support groups out there. Communities establish support groups where you can offer sibling support, where we can offer activities that focus on fostering this positive sibling relationships, right? Awareness again of the condition, awareness of the diagnosis, awareness of the signs and symptoms, and how to potentially be able to deal with it. This can help siblings navigate their own unique family dynamics as well, right? So that is problem number 6 or 7 there. There's just so many. There's just so many issues. Right? But problem number 7, and I've mentioned this already, but to summarize it, community barriers. That barriers that the community places on these families. You have Your child now with the diagnosis, whatever the neurological condition or whatever the diagnosis, whatever the added and complex needs of your family may be, and there is a major struggle in communication from the community side, making it very, very difficult for these families to be understood for their specific needs and their specific preferences even, right? It again links back straight to problem number one, social isolation. Social isolation. Why? Because the community is not aware. The community, instead of being helpful and supportive, what's happening within the community? Judgment. They're being judged. Or if the behaviors is just inappropriate, maybe whatever, again, judgment. Not my problem. Can't deal with it. Not getting involved. Let them be. Let them be in their own corner there. It is a major, major community barrier that we place upon these families. How can we help overcome that as a wider community, right? Where there's communication barriers. Okay. Furthermore, when I say communication barriers, you could have a child that is nonverbal. Okay, non-speaking, let's put it that way, because non-verbal could allude to they don't have the ability to pick up on their non-verbal communication cues, all right? So that's non-verbal communication cues, but then you have your non-speaking children. How are they supposed to communicate with their wider community? They cannot speak, all right? Or they're not speaking yet, or they're pre-speaking. Right? What can we do to help? Again, there are programs out there. There's what we call assistive technology. Again, assistive technology comes in again with that financial strain. Assistive technologies, things like introducing augmentative and alternative communication, AAC devices it's called. All right? This costs money. It's a lot of money. And then you could use maybe lower grade or lower tech support, like implementing visual support and stuff. But again, all costs money. You have to make the pictures, you have to laminate it so it's a bit durable, you have to put in Velcro, you have to get it into their textbook, all these kinds of things to help them have some means of trying to communicate their needs, whether it's something as simple that we take for granted. I need to go to the toilet. I'm hungry. I'm thirsty. I want to buy that toy, whatever that case may be. But it takes understanding also. It's a two-way communication here. Not only it's your problem that you cannot speak. No, we as a community, we need to take time, look into their eyes, get to know them, get to know their gestures, get to know their level of communication that they are using. But sometimes in this world of hustle and bustle, we are just far too busy and far too quick to brush them off as, not worth a hassle. Let's put it that way. It is extremely, extremely sad. And I hope listening to this is going to encourage us to become less judgmental. Number one, let's set aside the judgment and become a bit more proactive in bringing more knowledge as power to ourselves, becoming more aware of these issues, becoming more willing to get involved and to help and support our neighbor living with added and complex needs. Then, another major issue that I've already touched on, okay, but it's an important one, is being aware that these families living with added and complex needs, there are daily routine disruptions. So will I say daily and nightly, 24/7, there is disruptions in their routines. For families living with added income, living with these complex needs, it's extremely difficult to maintain consistency and structure, especially when you have a community that's placing other demands on you and expecting you to be able to leave your daily routines to entertain the community's challenges. Yeah, it's very stressful again. right? And they expected to just accept the sudden changes, and then they have the sensory overload, and then this leads to meltdowns and to distress, and then you wonder why we have that major problem that we started with, social isolation. Okay, we all are contributing to the problem if we're coming towards it with a negative attitude. What can we do to help overcome this disruptions to families' daily routines? We can establish again low-tech stuff that we can put in place. Things like visual schedules, sensory-friendly environments. I'm glad to say that already there are more and more like stores that have specific hours now for these families to come, where maybe the lighting is dimmed a bit, the music is off, there is, they're making sure that there's no sensory overload for our individuals living with sensory processing difficulties. Wonderful. These are the kinds of things we must be doing more of, right? So that families can go out and do the basic necessity of shopping for their food without having to isolate themselves, right? There are also other proactive strategies that we can help to manage transitions. Okay, when I say transitions, it's going from one place to another. Again, it takes lots and lots of planning from these families. It takes a lot of planning, a lot of preparation. Just going on holiday, we're going to the beach. They have to implement things like social stories, video modeling. I just had this discussion yesterday with this mom. They booked their holidays. It's 5 months away, but she's stressing now already because her son has this issue where the only inappropriate things that he will eat is sand and Play-Doh. If he's exposed to those two things, whatever that is about the textures, those two things, he eats it. Now she's stressing, how are we going to prevent him from eating it? And we're going to have to put things in place like the visual cues, the video modeling techniques, all these kind of things to be able to teach this child from a cognitive behavior and from a sensory. We're going to have to do sensory interventions as well to desensitize if it's a sensory need, because we always have to ask ourselves these questions. Is it sensory? Is it medical? Is it purely behavior? Why this child would go about and eat sand? For other children, it can be stuff like they'll eat their own feces, things like that with sensory issues. How do we help? How do we help overcome difficulties like that? There are resources out there. There are interventions. There are strategies that we can use. Again, we need to be prepared to speak, help, and support one another overcome these issues. All right? Then I'm just going to fly over some of the other issues. We need to work hard on overcoming the limited community resources out there. We need to be collaborating more with local organizations. We need to be advocating more for increased funding. All right? Support services needs to be put in place. We need to look at sharing when we've discover the resource, share the resources with others in your community so they too can benefit and improve from accessing these necessary resources. There are things like sleep problems, okay? I said already, some families are not getting any sleep. Parents have to take turns to be awake with their child at night because the child is not sleeping. Right? There are sleep experts. Ireland has their very own sleep expert, okay, which I hope to have on this podcast into the near future too. But there's simple things that we can put in, implementing bedtime routines and strategies, creating a sensory-friendly sleeping environment, putting your child to bed within the environment that they're gonna, because we all wake up during the night. All right, we all wake up at some point, we look, but we know where we are, and we can again regulate ourselves, we go back to sleep. But for a child, it's being put into sleep in front of the television, then carried upstairs to the bedroom. Now, halfway through the night, they wake up in the bedroom. Well, they're thinking they're still in front of the TV and mommy's lap, and they're not, and they are totally disorientated. And now the child's awake for the rest of the earlier hours of the morning and the rest of the day, tired. Behaviors then kicks up, and all these other issues that comes up. So yeah, we need to look at exploring really good sleep hygiene strategies, relaxation strategies, calming bedtime routines that's going to bring calm and help your child regulate and come down to a level where they can go to sleep and hopefully sleep for the entire night. And then, yes, we have got to look at stuff like safety concerns, mealtime challenges, healthcare navigation challenges, transitional challenges into adulthood, where they're going from being a child into adolescence, that hormonal changes, and then into adulthood, having to deal with, I don't even want to go into the severe, profound lack of adult services that's out there. I was speaking to a fellow behaviorist that we're working together with a number of clients, and it is absolutely sad to hear what is happening to our adults living with neurological conditions out there. It is, like I said, I won't go deeper into it. Okay, and then again, I've already touched on this major point. Let's start, if anywhere, let's start by getting rid of this negative, the stigma and this judgment. Okay, let's get rid of that first and foremost. Let us educate ourselves as a community. Let us share our personal stories with no fear of being judged and being stigmatized by others. Let us advocate for increased awareness for our families living with neurological conditions. Let us advocate for acceptance. Okay, let us advocate that we want to combat stigma. We want to promote an understanding society for all living with added and complex needs, whatever the diagnosis. So I hope this brings a bit more awareness for us all, and I hope this encourages us all a bit more that there are possible solutions to all these different problems that I've mentioned in this podcast now already, and that we can address this diverse and complex challenges faced by families living with neurological conditions. And with that, I encourage you again, please subscribe, stay tuned. Like I said, there's more to come. For those who haven't listened to the interview I did with our teenager living with autism, David Williamson, that went out last week. Thank you all for your positive responses now already. Thank you for getting involved. I will have his mother on this week, all right? And we'll get his parent perspective around living with neurological conditions and their health journey as a family. So, not to miss it, subscribe, get involved, go to my website. I have lots of blogs, vlogs, everything up there. My website being www.denziljacobsot.ie. Again, it will come up on the screen, www.denziljacobsot for occupational therapy.ie. I will put it up on the screen. Go there. You can click on the YouTube icon and it will bring you to all the podcasts and all the vlogs that has previously been done and will still be done into the future. I thank you for your help, your support in advance. I thank you for being here with us. Share this community. Let's grow this community and let us learn together, empower one another, and let us help one another reach maximum quality of life. With that, I say bye-bye till we meet again. All the best. Thank you.